hands. I drew them. I might be wondering, how did I draw them? Because hands are supposed to be really hard. Well, I have the answer for you. The answer, I have no idea. Literally none. Okay, that's not entirely true. The only thing that I consciously did was that for the cross-hatching and the shading, I did individual strokes, I placed them really close together, and I followed the form as best I could. But that was also really easy to do because I was literally drawing from reference that used this exact same shading style. So really, I just like followed the instructions, which I guess can be hard enough. You know, people can struggle to do things that they see. So like your observation skills is a muscle that you have to learn. So I guess what, I got better at observation somehow. But there were 2 tips that I got from the teacher that teaches this CGMA class, Anatomy of Style, Patrick Jones. This guy is legit. I love this. How he views art and how he teaches is so encouraging and so uplifting and makes so much sense. And he's like Australian, so he sounds awesome. And he has websites, he has stuff, it's down in the link below. Patrick Jones, he teaches classes. He has something coming out of Proco here in a little bit. He's kind of a big deal. So 10 out of 10 recommend. But I'm going to share 2 things that he taught me and gave me feedback on my work. The first tip that he gave me is that if you sit down and expect to make a masterpiece and you go down, you're like, okay, this is the one, this one is going to be great, I'm gonna love it, like this one's gonna like be awesome, and you sit down and expect to crush it, you're probably not. And you're inherently putting pressure on yourself, and just allow yourself to not have those expectations and expect that the first couple ones that you do will suck. And then he told me this, he says, eventually what's gonna happen is that you're going to sit down to draw and think nothing of it, and then you'll come out the other side and be really surprised that you drew something that impressive. And that is literally what happened with these hands. I didn't want to draw these hands because this hands, they weren't for his class. It was for my anatomy class. It was for my anatomy homework. And I was straight up just gonna not submit hands because my confidence was so low. I didn't think I was gonna be able to do it, but I was like, no, I'll finish it, I'll submit it, and just, you know, whatever happens, happens. And I drew uncharacteristically really nice hands that like genuinely surprised me. The second tip that he gave was that most of the mistakes that you make happen in the first 5 minutes of a painting, of a piece, of a what have you, and that if you run into trouble in the first 5 minutes of something, just make a mental note of where you're running into that issue. If it's a foreshortening thing, if it's a piece of anatomy, if it's some part of the gesture, if it's, you know, something, and then just start over. Literally just start over. Like, you start, you're like, oh, this is kind of hard, I'm not really kind of getting this angle, my fingers look a little sausagey, and it's like, okay, great, take a notice of, you know, where the knuckle is, notice what looks sausagey, what's ballooning, and then just scrap it and start over, and view it like a warm-up. And that's kind of what I do now for everything that I make. I start it, and I inevitably get stuck or think I make a mistake, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting, good to know, and then I just start over. And then probably around my 3rd or 4th or 5th time, I end up just sticking through it all the way, and it turns out, I mean, better than as if I didn't do that. And I think the thing that's really cool is that both of those pieces of advice are like about headspace, which is like kind of like my whole shtick. That's like the whole reason like why I'm on YouTube in the first place, right? I hadn't experienced a lot of other professors talk or think about like the psychology of art, and this guy does. Patrick Jones. He's amazing. And the last thing I wanted to share this week is that for the first time, I am experiencing this dissonance of like skill level within myself, and I'm like noticing things that seem wildly disproportionate. So like, here's these hands, I think they look pretty good, you know, pretty proud of them, and then I get emboldened, I'm encouraged, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna draw some fan art, I'm gonna draw a portrait, you know, because like, you know, I'm feeling hot. And then I go and I make this like literally the next day. And it just boggles my mind that the same artist, me, in the same amount of time, one day apart, can draw hands that look like this and a portrait that looks like this. And it's like, how do you do that? How is that so like, how do you miss? So I'm gonna keep studying. I'm gonna keep doing what Patrick Jones keeps telling me to do. And we'll see where that goes. So yeah, coming up next, I'm gonna make a video going through a bunch of anime girls and trying to see how they stylize their facial proportions and stuff to try to get a bit more of a clue, which, you know, I've been trying to do that for like years and I still somehow don't know what. Anyway, it's been a long journey. We'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped you. Patrick Jones stuff down below. Sign up for one of his classes if you can. 10 out of 10 recommend. Great guy. See you guys later.